Good morning, and welcome to the Louise Nevelson Gallery at the Art Authority Museum. Today we take the wraps off a project that has been 50 years in the making. On this day, at this time in 1978, Louise Nevelson's grand sculpture, Skygate, New York, was dedicated at the World Trade Center. It overlooked the North Tower lobby for over 20 years until it was lost, along with so much else, on September 11th, 2001. We are proud and we are honored to be bringing back that very small but important part, Skygate, New York. And we're going to start with the force behind most of this effort, and that's my co-host and Louise Nevelson's granddaughter, Maria.
And I look back over the time when my grandmother was alive, and for 10 years she kept saying, go downtown to see Skygate at the World Trade Center. And she was very proud of this particular sculpture. And I have to say, I never made it. And with regret, I recognize it was a missed chance to see one of her largest wooden wall sculptures. It was 32 feet wide and 17 feet high. It was huge, and it was made by hand. My legacy with the Louise Nevelson Foundation has brought me to Art Authority Museum and the incredible opportunity to bring this lost work back to life and in a new way.
Okay, next up, I'd like to introduce Alan Reese. Alan was the last director of the department that ran the original World Trade Center and has worked at the Port Authority for 41 years now. And he's got some great memories of the Trade Center and the work.
And we'd run up and down the escalator and go to events on the plaza, and you'd always see the Nevelson artwork out of the corner of your eye as you rode the escalator up to the mezzanine level. But it was an amazing piece of artwork, and you don't really sense it until things are gone. And I was there on 9/11, so I've dedicated myself to restoring the Trade Center site. That's what I did for 17 years. We're the ones passing the torch to the future generations.
So now I'd like to introduce someone who actually worked at the World Trade Center even before Alan did. And there aren't many such people. But our next guest started there before Alan and was at the original 1978 dedication. Karen Tobia worked at the Port Authority as a secretary in the executive director's office for over 30 years.
To me, Skygate it was New York. It was New York, and it was the Port Authority. It was the thing that welcomed you when you came off the plaza, and it just belonged there. It had a life of its own almost to me. I think, as Alan said, Alan Reese said, it's really important. I think it's very important for people to know what was at the Trade Center. It was our home for all those years. And to have every time we could get a little piece of it back, it does mean so much. And I think this museum and this concept is just fantastic for future generations.
And there are many who have worked in particular to remember and memorialize what we lost on September 11th. The 9/11 Memorial and Museum, which Alan also mentioned, grew literally out of the ashes from September 11th. Amy Weinstein is the Senior Curator of Oral History and Vice President of Collections at the National September 11th Memorial and Museum. And she has been working on that critical history project for almost 25 years.
About the art. I love the way Alan said he would see Skygate out of the corner of his eye, all the time. Sometimes you stop to look more closely. Sometimes it's just part of the environment. And I hear that from survivors I interview who walked down whether 20, 30, 60 flights of stairs, that when they got to the mezzanine, when they got to the lobby, when they saw some of the artwork that was familiar to them from that corner of the eye look, they knew they had gotten close to safety, to getting out of the building. And I'm so glad that it is going to be available, that we can all, the world can see it again virtually. I started to get a little teary when Maria said she never got to see her grandmother's work in the North Tower. But there's a beautiful photograph of your grandmother standing in front of the sculpture, and a little description that said the sculpture was her translation of the silhouette she perceived when looking at the night sky. And that silhouette of the sky is what many of us miss. Also, the silhouette with the Twin Towers. There was a hole in the skyline. There was a hole in our heart.
Speaking about the 9/11 memorial, we felt it more than appropriate that Maria give us some thoughts of hers from that poignant place.
Look at all these names.
You get chills. This is really,
Wow. We lost my grandmother's artwork, but the people are really. To stand here and think about what happened. And there was this large sculpture that I never saw, and I'm remorseful that I never listened to my grandmother. She said, go down to the World Trade Center and go see my Skygate, New York. And then it's gone. And I'm excited about the Art Authority Museum program, so I can see it again. But standing here with these names along this water sculpture is very impactful to recognize the destruction, the loss of life, the loss of culture, the loss of so much, with a very, very challenging act for all of us that we've never gotten over.
And thank you again, Alan, Karen, Amy, and the many others who have really helped get us to this moment that we're at right now. So, without further ado, I'd like to take the wraps off the new Skygate, New York. Here it is, full size. It's one of the great things about our museum. Everything is the real size. It's huge, but here, you know, if you want to, you can get so close. I've keep thinking I can actually touch this thing. But this is amazing, right? Just look at all this intricacy. Look at all these pieces. This is New York through and through, and this is Louise Nevelson through and through. In the 1978 dedication of this piece, Skygate, New York, at the ceremony, Kitty Carlisle Hart of the New York State Council of the Arts quoted the author John Updike. And he said, "The artist brings something into the world that didn't exist before." In our case, today, we are happy to be able to bring back something that did. We have brought back something that existed before. So I want to continue by showing you next how we did this real quick, how we did this magic. But even more amazing than the months we spent on this painstaking, meticulous reconstruction is the fact that Louise Nevelson physically did all of that, and she was in her 70s when she did it. And she didn't have any apps, no apps to help her out. So I'm going to give it back to Maria to talk more about that really, really important effort of which this is a centerpiece.
Future. But I also wanted to point out, and today, that one of the situations with museums is, for instance, my grandmother's in 250 art museums around the world, and most of them do not have the exhibition space to show the artwork that they have, but they love it. And so they've been keeping it for years. Well, this technology and this application with Art Authority allows those works to be seen virtually. It means they reach a larger audience beyond their geographic location. And it really fulfills their mission of educating the public. And we invite everyone to enjoy Skygate, New York once again.
This is a work called Black Cord, and it is literally sitting in a warehouse on the Hudson River. So it is essentially lost, and it is now found again. And letting people now not just see, but of course experience those works. Back to our favorite work, and certainly one of the most important in history when it comes down to it, Skygate, New York. So real quick, I do want to take you to, for instance, our museum's lobby. This is the lobby. What museum lobby has all these works of art at the same time? To everyone who has worked to preserve and remember the bigger history here, of which we are so honored to be able to have brought back a very, very small part. Thank you all very much.